If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome too. My name is Tiara, and you're always welcome to come read with me. So, today I am back with a book review, finally, about a book that I read last year, and it is called Buxton, an expanded edition, Buxton, A Black Utopia in the Heartland. And this is by husband and wife duo, Dorothy and Elmer Schweiter. Now, this book that I hold here is the second edition. The first edition was a lot smaller, it's a lot thinner. Let me see, let you look at it from this way so that you can see. And I think the second book was about like this. It was a lot smaller than this one. It had a bunch of just like data tables, statistics. It was more distant, more sterile. It just gave you the numbers. And didn't necessarily delve into the people. So by the time Dorothy Schweiter got the idea, after the success of the first book, by the time she got the idea to go out and actually find ex-Buxton residents, there were only 75 surviving from the town, and I think that was just all over from all of the ethnic groups that were there. So it's 75 in total interviews that she was able to do with people across the state of Iowa, Detroit, and I think that was about it. Iowa and Michigan is where a lot of them ended up branching off to, between the 1881 to the mid 1920s was when this took place, where there was a town in a majority white state that was majority African American. I found that very interesting. This is what made me pick up the book, and I actually got the book from my local African American museum. She also used news articles that she found from both the newspapers from Buxton and the surrounding areas that wrote about Buxton, because even though those majority white towns did not want blacks living there, they did find it interesting that there was a black town pretty much in the middle of a bunch of Caucasian towns, and it was thriving, and it wasn't, I guess, what it would stereotypically have been judged to be. They would visit, they would write about it, they'd give it pretty much glowing reviews as a town. So those articles were also used to paint a picture of what Buxton was in its time. Buxton was a town founded by a coal mining company, and if I am remembering correctly, it is the Chicago Railway. Not remembering correctly, I will put it across the screen for you to read really quick. Okay, so this was one of the few railroad companies who had the bright idea to open their own coal mining company to save some money. They had done this a few times, with one mention of a town that was founded before Buxton, and it was called Mashakanak. All of the workers who lived in Mashakanak, or Mucci, Iowa, picked up when the coal reserves had run dry and moved a few hundred miles down the road and founded a new town called Buxton, which was named after its then manager, Ben Buxton. Ben Buxton is single-handedly responsible for making Buxton, Iowa, the phenomenon that it was. So under his management, a lot of his workers who were Caucasian decided to go on a worker strike, because Ben Buxton decided that he wanted to change not only the way that people were being paid, but of course the key principles of how he ran the company. And they did not take to this change very well. So they decided, I'm gonna teach them a lesson. We're gonna go on strike. But Ben Buxton was like, you know what? I don't give a damn that you're going on strike. What I'm gonna do is find people who want to take your place. So what he did was called their bluff, went down to the Virginias, and started recruiting African Americans from other coal mining companies that either weren't treating them right, weren't valuing their work, or people who just were not being hired pretty much solely because they were African American in the 1880s. This is the one part of it it causes so many conflicts for me, because his original intention for doing it was to spite his workers who were organizing against him to have a say-so in the way that their work life was run, and he used African Americans as a pawn, but then never, I don't know, because then it's like, can I say that he used them as a pawn, but it's like, did he get he started to feel guilty, and seeing or I just don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, because I know the reason that he went and recruited a bunch of African Americans. What we don't know is the reason that he continued to not only recruit exclusively African Americans, like when he needed new workers, he intentionally either went himself or sent people down to find African Americans from the Virginias, and I think a few from Mississippi, but mainly the Virginias. And he kept them. I don't know, because it's like, well, was he that liberal? Was he that forward thinking? Or was he initially doing it out of spite and then had a change of heart because he's seen these people as people wanting to work more than willing to work? Because it's not like he paid them less. He didn't. They were equally paid. Like, African Americans there had equality. He took care of them. That is the perplexing part, and we'll never know, because by the time these interviews started taking place, Ben Buxton was dead. So we'll never know his true intentions. We'll never know, like, if he had a change of heart, if that was where he was coming from the beginning, and the strike just opened it up. Anyway, he was single-handedly the reason that his town, or the company's town, was a majority African American, when no other mining company across the United States at that time was. When African Americans were constantly being tossed aside, underpaid, like, he did that. And this town came equipped with everything that they might have needed. If they couldn't afford housing, that's cool. We'll give you a house. Like, you're working for us, we'll give you a house. If you can't afford to feed your family, that's cool. We'll give you some store credit at the company store so that you can feed your family. You don't have to worry about it right now. You just take a little bit from your check every time you get it to kind of catch yourself back up. Or even women had fairly equal rights. There were, most of them, I mean, of course, equal rights for that time in that town. They had equal pay if they did so happen to work for the company. The people of that town were also able to start businesses in the town. Like, the town had everything. It's so easy to forget that it was a company and not really a town because of everything that they had. I mean, it was a town, but it was a company at the end of the day. If that well ran dry, which eventually it did, is we pack everything up on this train, houses, buggies, anything, we're gonna put it on this train and we're gonna ship it off to the next location, which of course they did. And I think 1925 was when the final residents were gone out of the town, ready to move to the next one. But when I say they had everything, I mean YMCA's, lodging halls, there were hotels, of course, doctors' offices. A lot of the residents there had gone on to be some of the first African Americans to attend some of the major universities and colleges here in the state of Iowa. It was amazing, and I'm sad that it couldn't thrive on its own. A lot of the African Americans there did go on to start their own businesses. Some of them wrote books. There were food trucks at that time, laundry services that women were opening up to, bring in extra cash flow. It was great. And then what made it even better was, even though it was a majority African American, there were Caucasians there, but not Americans. They were immigrants from Sweden, Slovakia, and the British Isles. And I think this also helped to keep down on the turmoil of racial divide, because, like, they were coming to work, they were recruiting their family to come to work, and they hadn't been programmed with the fear-mongering, with the, what is it called? Town mentality about African Americans. Like, that wasn't shown to them before they got there, so they were able to just when they came in, black people were kind of just like, whatever, they're here, we're here, everybody's going to work. Now, it is said that there was not a large amount of intermingling between the two. There are Swedish women that married African American men. There is actually a story in here about a young woman whose mother specifically told her, do not marry a Swedish man. They work their women too hard. Marry anybody else but a Swedish man. And I'm sure that woman went on to marry an African American doctor in this book. As I was reading this, I was very much, of course, intrigued, but I was kind of disheartened, because to see that as a possibility in a time when most of us would have thought that it wasn't a possibility, and then it was just gone like that, not to even really be mentioned. Like, I think that it should have. It was way ahead of its time. I can definitely say that. It was a world of its own, equipped with everything that a person might need, especially at the Consolidation Company store. This store was enough to make Walmart and Amazon quake in their boots. They were like, do you need a house? We can get you that. You need fine fabrics? Don't worry, we got that too. You need a horse? We'll get you a horse. Like, their train just brought in everything. I was amazed to find out that they were like bringing in houses on trains. You know, it didn't matter the furniture that you wanted. They just, if they didn't have it in store, they made sure to get that to you. And I call that great customer service, damn it, because nowadays, you'll go somewhere and it's just like, no, not at the Consolidation Coal Company store. They had a YMCA for the African Americans. There was also a Swedish YMCA that was built by the migrants after they had moved there. They also used these for like meetings. I think the Swedish YMCA for a minute was also their church until they built themselves an actual church. Now, I can say that what I seen was that Ben Buxton did favor, to a point, African Americans over any other racial group that was there. He was more willing to just freely give to them and build for them than he was for any of the other ethnic groups. And of course, I think that had more to do with the way African Americans were being treated in the times and how much of a disadvantage they had compared to anybody else who was either born in the U.S. or coming to the U.S. The town also had its own basketball team, baseball team, bands, women's clubs. Like, you would not think that as you're reading about this was just a company town, that it was just pretty much just work. It's crazy. There is also mention, though, of the extent that Ben Buxton would go to make sure that there was no outward prejudice when it came to his town. So every now and again, they would have an American worker, a Caucasian American worker, that would be recruited into the town, who of course had the prejudice mindset of the time. And if they, one time was all it took was for them to show their ass and show their prejudice, and Ben Buxton's like, gotta go. So he and that was what makes the feeling so complicated. It's like he went out of his way to pretty much give them this utopia, but I know why he originally did it. Damn it. Like, does anybody else? You get me? You get me, right? You get me. All right, you get me. All right, so that's my review of the book. I don't really have stars. I guess if I had to give it stars, it would be 5 stars. But let's just give this a highly recommend. Like, I really like this book. This is a book that I can see myself picking up again. This is a book that I think anyone who likes nonfiction would enjoy, especially if you are into genres about like labor studies, African American studies, like those. If those are 2 things that you're interested in, this would be a really good book to read. Alright, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know down below. And next week, I will be coming to you with a review on Black Noise by Tracia Rose. Also, I think I read that last year. But that's okay. I'm finally getting to my book reviews. So that will be the next one. If you don't want to miss out on that one, don't forget to 1, hit that subscribe button, and 2, hit the bell right beside it so that you get the notification, since I have not been very consistent with posting in the past. So yeah, hit that bell. That way you know when my next video goes up. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a fantastic day. It's finally spring, so get outside and go for a walk, because that's what I'm about to do. And I'll see you next week, or you'll see me next week.